Hey, I'm on YouTube here. I'm reading the Five Families uh, about the Mafia book. So here goes. Five Families is the finest Mafia history likely to see for a good long time. The New York Times Book Review. Five Families. The Rise, Decline, and Resurgence of America's Most Powerful Mafia Empires. By Selwyn Robb. 10th Anniversary Edition. Updated with a new preface by the author. Riveting History. People. For half a century, the American Mafia outmaneuvered and outgunned the FBI and other police agencies, wreaking unparalleled damage on America's social fabric and business enterprises while emerging as the nation's most formidable crime empire. The vanguard of this criminal juggernaut is still led by the Mafia's most potent and largest borgatas, New York's Five Families. Five Families is a vivid story of the rise and fall of New York's premier dons. From Lucky Luciano to Paul Castellano to John Gotti and others. This definitive history brings the reader right up to the possible resurgence of the Mafia as the FBI and local law enforcement agencies turn their attention to homeland security and away from organized crime. This updated 10th anniversary edition features a new preface by the author. Robb exudes the authority of a writer who has lived and the new gold standard for organized crime nonfiction with its outstanding history. Publishers Weekly, Starred Review. Selwyn Robb was an investigative reporter for the New York Times, covering organized crime and criminal justice matters for 25 years. He's also the author of Justice in the Back Room and Mob Lawyer. He lives in New York. Here goes. Praise for Five Families. Thorough, enlightening chronicle of the rise of the five mafia families. Entertainment Weekly. Robb's meticulously researched history is an engrossing initiation. The Baltimore Sun. A classic piece of reporting by a man who knows the bloody, brutal, corrupt territory. Mike Wallace, 60 Minutes. Robb's sprawling history offers sufficient anecdotes to fuel a half-dozen Godfather sequels and keep The Sopranos well stocked with mayhem for another decade. Kirkus Reviews. So well written and encompassing. Detroit Free Press. In this definitive account of the royal families of mobdom, Selwyn Robb not only tells us where the bodies are buried, he brings them back to life. Thomas Repetto, author of American Mafia, A History of Its Rise to Power. After an 8-decade run in which his executives built the most powerful criminal organization in U.S. history, the American Mafia began to unravel at the end of the 20th century. It did so in a convulsion of blood and treachery, fueled by out-of-control egos. Selwyn Robb was there, in the streets, the precinct houses, and the courtrooms to record that story. No one does it better. Tom Robbins, reporter. In my more than 50 years as a reporter, there is no journalist whom I've respected more than Selwyn Robb of the New York Times in covering New York's criminal justice system. He was tireless and painstaking in investigating the investigators, sometimes helping to prove innocence, but equally fair and conscientious in cases that ended in conviction. His riveting book, Five Families, will be, I'm sure, the definitive history of the Mafia in New York for a long time to come. It is a model of what journalism can be. Nat Hentoff, columnist, The Village Voice. A well-researched, well-written historical account of the murderous double-dealing and often sophisticated gangsters who shot their way into American folklore and created a criminal empire that has fleeced Americans and confounded law enforcement for more than 100 years. Rob's work surpasses all the rest. Mafia expert Jerry Capecci, webmaster, ganglandnews.com, author, The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Mafia. While the introduction to Five Families says the Bonanno, Genovese, Lucchese, Colombo, and Gambino families are among the reigning giants of the underworld. What it doesn't say is that the book about them is by one of the reigning giants of journalism, Selwyn Robb. Don Hewitt, creator of 60 Minutes and author of Tell Me a Story, 50 Years and 60 Minutes in Television. With vivid characterizations of the cavalcade of thugs, Robb's account is the most lively and informative mafia history in years. Book list. Also by Selwyn Robb. Mob Lawyer with Frank Regano. Justice in the Back Room. Five Families. The Rise, Decline, and Resurgence. Five Families. Copyright 2005, 2006, 2016. All rights reserved. Printed in the United States of America. For my parents, William and Bertie, and my grandson, William Robb Goldstein, may fortune bestow upon him his namesake's integrity and zest for life. To my youngest grandson, Ethan, whose steadfast encouragement inspired a new edition. Prologue. They are alive, still looking for illegal jackpots and reinventing their organizations.